What's up, everyone? It is Friday. Welcome back to the Friday Live with Lauren show. If it's your first time tuning in, thank you for being here on a Friday, the first Friday in February. I think I read in a post today that 8% of the year is gone. So, what are you doing to level up? Come learn and hopefully laugh and level up with us today. I have two really exciting guests. One has been here before, one is brand new to the show, but I've met them both in person now. And I can never ever say that about the people who I bring on this show. So I just want you guys to know how freaking exciting it is to have people on here that I've hugged in real life. It's so awesome. So without further ado, please welcome to the stage Miss Nikki Ivey and Miss Leslie Venetz.
Hello.
What's up? I'm so excited for the show today. How are you both?
Jazzed. I mean, it's Friday. The sun is shining. I cannot complain.
When you asked us for a picture of us together from our event that we were all at together hugging, Nikki and I were texting and I was like, I don't think we have a single actual picture of us together. We just have the video of us hugging for 2 full minutes.
The longest.
We could have just played the video. A 2-minute intro of the two of you hugging. I think that would have been perfect. We all would have loved it. 2 minutes of Leslie and Nikki hugging and embracing. Don't you all wish you could have a hug like this? All right. If you are watching, share the show, please. And comment and tell us where you are joining us from. Nikki, where are you today?
I am just outside Jacksonville, Florida.
And Leslie?
I'm actually in Chicago. Couple days back from spending January in Guatemala, working remotely, which was such a vibe. And now I am back in Chicago, which also is sunny.
Sunny in Chicago.
Yeah.
There we go. I'm in South Florida as always. We have so much to cover today. Y'all, big shout out to our official gifting sponsor, Sendoso. Thank you, Sendoso. There are going to be some giveaways today. Sendoso obviously has an awesome prize that we give away every week. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the one we're giving away today later. But Nikki has been nice enough to give away a cold calling or email teardown coaching session. So are you a seller? Do you do cold calling? Do you do emailing? Do you want Nikki to help you really level up? If you do, tag Nikki and she'll help you. One of you, not all of you. Not all of you, one of you. Okay, that's how you tag her on this platform. Okay, make sure you do it right. Tag Sendoso, and then I'll roll this on the bottom so that you guys don't forget while we chat. All right, we have a few people joining us already. Lindsay Dowd is pumped for this one. Do y'all know Miss Lindsay Dowd?
I have not met Lindsay, I don't believe, but hi. Hi, Lindsay.
I will tell you.
No, never in person. Not yet in person.
Not yet in person. I have plans to meet Lindsay in April, and I will tell you, Nikki, she specifically told me that she hadn't heard you before, and she was excited to hear you speak today. So I thought that was super sweet that she said she was excited to hear you. Michelle Craig is in the house. 2 of my faves. I hope you mean those two. Those two, right? Those two, Liz? What's up? We got Fort Myers, Florida in the house. It's Joy. Joy never shows up. Thanks, Joy, for telling us it's you. Joy's in LA. We got Dallas, Texas in the house. We got Nashville and Orlando, Boston. What's up, Jim? We got Lindsay's here. Everybody's here, excited to be here. We are all excited that you're tuning in. So thank you so much. We are going to get started. Are y'all ready?
Yes.
All right. So I don't know if the ladies even remember the topics, but our first topic of the day is what it means to be radically human and applying that to sales. So y'all, I got to go to a conference with these 2 ladies and we talked a little bit about this and it was fire. So you're getting a little free mini version of that right now. I'm going to let the 2 ladies take it away, but this is going to be the moment where you need to get a pen and paper out and take some notes. All right. Who wants to start?
Nikki has to start. This is Nikki Ivey territory.
So thank you, Leslie. So what can we do? What are radically human sales plays? First off, I'll just talk a little bit about why it's important. People don't trust us. I wish it was just, my own paranoia, but the truth is there are studies every day that talk about how folks, not even that they just don't trust salespeople very much, they barely even want to talk to us when trying to purchase something. And a lot of that is perception, stuff we can't control. But what's in our control is, our capacity to abate the urge to just say what we would say if we were talking to a normal person and, tell the truth. So what it looks like, say, just as an example, in a cold call, is, we give an opener, and unfortunately, a lot of the really popular and yes, historically effective openers are well known now, especially if you sell to sellers and marketers. So then we have to figure out, okay, how do we take what works about that formula, right? It's permission based and it is, conversational, and then take it to this next level to where it's actually who you are as a person. And it involves a little bit of personalization sometimes, but doesn't need it. So the first way to do this is to just let curiosity be the thing that's driving the phone call. So I would call and say something like, hey, it's Nikki with such and such. I sent you a note the other day. Upward inflection. Pause for just a second. Make fun of yourself. Doesn't sound like that's ringing any bells, but it's okay. I had reached out because you said this on LinkedIn. That's if you're personalized, right? Or I reached out because it looks like, this is just relevance, it looks like you all just hired a bunch of SDRs. And I know that when that happens, it can be really hard on the capacity for your managers to ramp those new reps up while also, coaching your existing reps. But I didn't know if that was something that you were up against. Am I anywhere near what you're experiencing right now? So I've asked them a question. Yes, it's a question that will lead into a sales conversation, but it is the question the way I would ask it if I were standing there talking to that person and they asked me what I do. And I'm answering the question in a way that is unambiguously human, right? Maybe they'll teach a machine how to say what I just said, but the machine will not be as cute. No, but the machine will not be you. It will not be me. So yeah, we live in a time where there is a need for radically human sales plays. And that's just an example of what I think that looks like. What do you think, Leslie?
No, I think that's so good. I feel like people right now especially crave human connection. So even if a bot could replicate that exact script, even with that like tone and intonation, people want to know that they are connecting with you, Nikki, Ivey, a human who is listening to them, a human who is genuinely curious about them and cares about them. So I think it is, yes, the words matter, but I think what matters more is that radically human piece, the tone and the intention that sits behind it. I love all of that. And I think one thing I would really call out about the sample scripts that you just shared with folks too is that they are low pressure. Like you're coming in hot, you're leading with the reason for the call, like you're making it relevant, but then you are asking for that permission in a way that isn't like, do you want to roll the dice and talk to me more? It's like, hey, can you just validate I got this right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So you're asking for permission in a way that it puts you on their level and it assumes that you did your work before you ever picked up the call.
I love this. And you reminded me of a couple of things. Number one, yes, the bots can't listen. People do want to be listened to. And that is one thing that they will never be able to do. You also mentioned, I guess I hope not. I don't know. But you also mentioned permission-based, and I forgot that piece, right? And it's more like how to respond when they say, in a radically human way, how to respond when someone says, is this a sales call or is this a cold call? It uses what works about the permission-based opener and turns it into more of an invitation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is this a cold call? Which they might interrupt you and say, and you say, it is, but if we do it right, it doesn't have to feel like one. You up for giving it a shot? Again, which is what I would say naturally. That's where these things came from, by the way. I felt this tension, right? I'm a sunny, gregarious girl. And I felt this tension in these conversations to like take a posture and be like, well, why aren't you interested? Yes, it is a sales call. Why are you mean about it? And I was like, well, one day I just said what I would say.
Yeah.
And it worked. which was not evidence enough for me to bring it to LinkedIn. But did it work again and again and again and again? And I compared it to, these other openers that I had been using. And yeah, it was the obvious top performer of those for the reasons that you just talked about as well, Leslie. This is fun.
And I will say you can use this as a job seeker too, right? When you're reaching out to recruiters, when you're reaching out to hiring managers, you do kind of need to take a sales approach to your job strategy these days. So you can also use these tips when it comes to reaching out to hiring managers and trying to explain why you're the best fit for the role and things like that. Show that you can use these openers and you know how to be radically human. If you can get across to a hiring manager in the first 5 minutes that this is who you are, they're going to know that their team is just going to, I mean, come on, guys. The people that I talk to who aren't willing to call hiring managers for a job, I'm like, why? Let's break that down. Because if you're in sales, you're going to have to make some phone calls, people, and lean into what's uncomfortable. And the more you do it, the less uncomfortable it is, right? Right, ladies?
Yeah,
for sure. And it's the only way. I wish that we could get to a point where we're comfortable with cold calls without having to actually check notes, make the cold calls. But that part, it turns out, is required.
There we go. Oh, look, Ronan was here. My ears were burning. Somebody say script.
Ronan?
What's up? Katie's in the house. What's up, Katie?
Cool.
Thank you for tuning in. What's up, Kelsey? Thanks for coming. Aaron's here. Dan's in the house. Being human and authentic in sales in 2024 is the only way to stand out in the sea of sameness. Man, I agree. Hi. Yes, we can connect with me on LinkedIn. Sure. Okay. We're just, I don't know. There's 800 people pending in there. I'll try to remember. Go back and watch the replay. All right. You guys ready for the next topic?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Sorry, somebody needs to write an AI for my LinkedIn requests so we can filter those too. I know that's another topic, but social and selling. We were ranting before we got on today. So if we get off topic a little bit, I'm not going to apologize, but we are going to try to stay on topic for as long as we can. But social and selling. So y'all, doing both successfully. It's not just social. It's not just selling. A lot of times I feel like people have a hard time figuring out how to meld the two together, right? How do I do one and the other and make it not seem so transactional, right? So I think Leslie's going to start us off on this one, right, Leslie?
Sure.
We're going to go into doing this successfully.
And let's be really honest, folks, this is something that I got really wrong when I first started using LinkedIn. And I'm not alone there. So if where you're at right now are the things that we are putting in the don't category, like it's okay. That's probably where every single person started. Don't stress. We just are going to evolve. But generally what I see happen is that the first thing that people use LinkedIn for is straight up selling with no social at all. And they call it social selling because that's maybe like what the touch point in their outreach sequence tells them it is. Or like, right. Like their bosses said, like, we need to start social selling. So they're like, okay, like I'll start sending the same really terrible sales copy that isn't getting people to open and reply to emails on LinkedIn, where it works even worse because people expect more of a personal touch on LinkedIn. But like, that's where I started the horror that I feel sometimes when I will reconnect with somebody that I pitched like 7-8 years ago, and I'll see the stuff I was sending them. Humbling. It's humbling, folks. But here's how to fix it. It's okay to sell. It's okay to sell on LinkedIn. Nobody on this show is going to tell you to like not just be direct about your ask, but be direct about your ask in a way that doesn't make people feel icky. And I'm going to tell you the number one way that I get the ick from sales messages, and then I would love Nikki and Lauren to hear yours. Mine is something like, oh my gosh, Leslie, like congratulations on your LinkedIn editorial badge. You're such a star. Your content's amazing. So what I sell is, and I'm like, oh, you actually didn't, you don't care about me at all. That was all a lie. Like I got like kind of a little like boost to my ego, and I was feeling kind of good about myself. And then immediately after, you told on yourself that you just don't give a shit about me. It makes me feel bad. And I'm not going to respond to that type of sales message, because the emotion it left me with was, oh, you lied. You manipulated my emotions. Cool. Okay, bye. What's the message for you that is like, does not combine the social and the selling in the right way that we should avoid? And then maybe we can talk about how to do it right.
It's these other ones that try to lie, right? That's at the heart of, like you said, at the heart of what the problem is the manipulation. So similarly, I've been getting a lot lately, one that's like, hey, Nikki, I like your work. I like what you're doing in the space. And I'm like, what space, fam? I don't ask these questions because I don't have time. But here's the thing, right? It used to be that anytime I got a message like that, I would actually respond. Either I would just straight up say, no, I'm not into it. But I would respond if it was like a seller, I could prove it was, a real person. My heart is too big. So I would tell them, I'm saying, hey, this is not something that I'm in the market for right now, but, I want you to be successful. Here are the things, right? But today, it's overwhelming as a seller for the reasons I just talked about, to keep seeing that volume of terrible messaging, right? It's a lot. I mean, can we keep it a buck? It is work to bear in mind that you still have to push forward being human and trying to elevate the profession and do this right, even as because you're experiencing it, that there are tens of hundreds of people, right, doing it thousands of people doing it the wrong way. And so even if even if I get it right, even if me and all the top voices and all the top sellers get it right, that's not enough. It will never be enough. What's going to have to happen for the survival of the profession is that we at scale are able to respond to those folks, I guess, and say, hey, could you not? Because it's making it hard for me to sell things. Or I don't know. I don't have the answers, Sway. And maybe that's not even what you had asked me, Leslie, but we
knew we were going to go down some rabbit holes. And we were already complaining off camera about the lack of folders in the LinkedIn inbox, and what, how perplexing that is. But so here's a couple of ways that I think that you can social sell without creating content, because I think that's something different. And I feel like one of the hurdles, like either a time hurdle or a mental hurdle that people face, is I want to do social selling right, but I'm not ready to make content comfortable. Whatever it is. You don't have to make content to do social selling. What you have to do is make your messages, your social messages, relevant to the person. So if you are going to talk about something you saw on their profile, make sure, to steal a phrase from my good friend Taylor Core, make sure you aren't just reading the news to them. Make sure that you are saying something that is relevant and meaningful in context of whatever you sell and whatever you're going to say next. So that's like the baseline. And other ways that you can social sell are engaging in the comments, reposting their content, maybe tagging them on something you see that you believe is valuable to them. So it's less about creating your own content, and it's more about joining the conversations that are already happening where the prospect is at, and then using the relevance you pick up from those conversations to say something meaningful when you move into that selling mode.
100%. I want to call out really quick what Lindsay said, because this is the same that I was going to say.
Yes.
When you guys tell me that something about me sucks and then try to tell me that you could fix it for me, LinkedIn ghostwriters lately and SEO for YouTube. Like, one, I don't want a LinkedIn ghostwriter ever. Don't think any of you could ever talk in my voice. Sorry, not sorry. And yeah, it's totally ick when somebody's like, yeah, you're not good at this, but I can make you better. No.
Yeah. Or like the false assumptions. I get it on Instagram a lot where they're like, your Instagram account is terrible. and you're wasting your time and you're bad at this and I can help you. And I'm like, good talk. Had you have started with a question like, are you prioritizing growth on Instagram? I could tell you that it's a throwaway social for me.
Yeah. I got
what Nikki said, and about leading with curiosity and that being the key to being radically human.
Yeah, this person, I almost said this dude. Okay, it was a dude. Pulled up to my inbox yesterday after I think commenting and liking a post of mine. Bro was like, your banner on your page is not optimized for mobile. LOL. You should have reached out to me. I could have helped you. I mean, okay. Thank you, question mark. But like, you know what I mean? There's this lack of curiosity, because even like it could be like you're saying, Leslie, that is not something that you're prioritizing, but like, do straight hurt my feelings. Because it is something I tried to do it by myself. You ain't have to come in here and tell me that I was trash at it. That's so messed up. But yeah, so there are these things that are going on. But I do want to make sure you asked me, Leslie, like how to do it right. And then you talked about the comments. I think sometimes people miss that it doesn't have to be a comment on that specific person's post, right? Because there's this whole like, but what if they're not on LinkedIn? Then they may not be posting. Okay. But you can see where they've commented, and bigger than that, right? Let's back it all the way up. How about I build the list from people who have liked and commented on the post of a thought leader that my ICP respects and trusts. So if I sell to DEI leaders and there's a person that DEI leaders, consume their content, they show up, these comments, these posts are getting lots of engagement. Yes, I will comment on it, but what I would more likely do is take a look at who is liking and engaging. Do they fit my ICP? And then striking up a conversation around what was said in the post, whether it was something that they said or not, right? Like, and this is not new. I just think that, and listen, I get it. I just think that in the age of content, like you pointed out, Leslie, we kind of lost sight of these other like more back to basics ways of, connecting with each other.
Yeah.
Because the content piece is sexy, right? And it is, it's fun, and it can bring a lot of opportunity. But if those kinds of opportunities are not your priority, and I would go further to say that if you are new in your career and you're just trying to build something, the priority would probably be doing good work. So like, it's going to be difficult to put these, have this tunnel vision for what is in front of you and what you are prioritizing. But when you do that, then the choice of, do I make content or do I find the conversations where my prospects are? It's a very easy, clear choice at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. You just rolled us into our next topic.
B2B
content. The rise of influencers in the space and what it means for content this year. Y'all, I think everybody thinks they're some type of content creator these days, right? Like, I published a post. Like, cool. But what are you doing to help your community learn and get better? And just posting a post to post doesn't mean that you're actually helping the people in your network level up. So what are you actually posting, and what is that content about? I'm going to let you ladies take this away. But B2B content this year, Nikki, where do you see this going with the rise of influencers in the space? What do you think it means for content?
Ooh, I'm already seeing it. I'm seeing in-house influencers, which is, again, not novel. Okay. It's been happening for a long time. They just haven't been paying the sellers who have been doing the influencing internally. But now I'm seeing where I can't remember the name of the company, but a SaaS company that the last 3 hires I've seen there have something to do with content. And so I think seeing in-house armies of influencers, or, seeing that be placed as a hard prerequisite, right? Or at least the ability to do it for sales roles. As far as what the content will be, I'm liking a lot of the content now that is series As you likely know, because you do this, and so you as well, Leslie, like when you have a series, it gives people a reason to keep coming back to your content week over week, or day after day. And so I think that now that brands are seeing that they can do that, we'll see more of that. Let me see what else. Well, we'll have to, at some point, I think we're there now at that point of inflection, we're going to have to define, as you alluded to, Lauren, what a content creator is as it differs, right, from a salesperson who uses content to sell.
100%. Leslie, what do you see?
I make a lot of money doing this, so I have some like pretty definite opinions on it. I think a lot of brands are realizing how expensive owned media is. So that's something that would be like a sales feed or sales hacker where they're building all of their media in-house. And we're seeing the impact of that. Like we saw a ton of layoffs of content people last year, and we saw sales hacker divested. We saw sales feed get divested. And we are seeing a huge uptick in head of community people who are maybe less focused on creating their own content and more focused on creating relationships with the B2B influencers, the B2B content creators. So those are the types of engagements that I have. I'm not the only one seeing this trend. Like it's a trend that's being predicted by like the big deal experts, but I'm certainly seeing it like in my own revenue streams, in the inbound asks that are coming to my inbox. What I think will be different for how this has already been happening in B2C and how it translates to B2B, I think there will be less appetite for one-off paid ads in B2B. Like we're not using our brands the same way that B2C creators are. Like I do 6-month packages so that it is a long-term partnership. I think that from a perspective of our audience, there is a higher expectation that whatever we're talking about, we are definitely using and really believe in. Like we can't be pretending to like talk about a face spray and then the next week it's another face spray. Like if you're not using the tech, you should not be talking about it. Like if you don't truly believe in the tech and understand the tech, that should not be a partnership that you have. So I think the B2B landscape is going to look a lot different. I also think, this might be an unpopular opinion, that the brands that have relied on UGC, on user-generated content for a long time, they're going to have a really rude awakening in 2024 when those UGC creators realize how much money people like me are making, getting paid to create content for brands, because I don't work for free and they shouldn't either. And so I think that we're going to see a reduction in UGC content. And I think we're going to see an increase in people saying you're a for-profit brand that is creating your business development funnel off the back of my free work. We're done here.
I have one more idea. You reminded me of it, Leslie. First,
I got sassy. It
was a whole sermon. I was here for it, front pew. You feel me? But one of the other things that I hope happens and that I'm making a play for, y'all see it coming here pretty soon, is the types of brands that sellers are having partnerships with, right? So just about my entire wardrobe is from like the same 2 lines, which is, I don't know what this means about me, but read into it if you will. And what I don't see on LinkedIn are people talking about, like, you did a video, Lauren, get ready with me, but what if what I wear to the office every day is New York and Company, right? And there is an aesthetic involved with that. And I'm living it in my content and I'm talking about it in a way that is clever and that overlaps with, because listen, that's their audience. I'm wearing New York and Company. New York and Company wants people like me to wear New York Company. It's a match made in heaven. New York and Company, holla at your girl. But you know what I'm saying, right? So I'm hoping that it will open up into bigger things like that as we start to think bigger about what the workplace can look like, right? And, and what is and is not relevant in this space.
Okay,
100%.
For real though, I just did my like corporate retreat, my corporation's me. But I spent a week like really thinking about the big bets that I wanted to make on myself in 2024. And one of them was around non-traditional influencer partnerships. I've been literally gunning for calm.com for like 2 years. And so I created a list of other organizations that are like that maybe don't share my exact ICP, but they are organizations that I know are trying to make an enterprise play. And we have the only social platform out there that is going to allow them to do that. So I think that you're really onto something. And also like, Jesus, calm. It's been 2 years. 2 years of UGC, 2 years of me taking you in posts. Just give me like a thumbs up. Like, let me know that you're alive.
Are you there?
Read my post, please. I had someone on LinkedIn. I tagged him. I recommended a book he wrote. I did all of these things. He replied to my comment. He will not add me on LinkedIn. He will not accept my connection request. And then I found him on Instagram. We follow each other there. And he said something about get better. I was like, well, you'd have to accept my LinkedIn request first. And he was like, oh, well, you should join my mastery class to learn how people would actually accept your. I was like, bro, no, thank you.
Oh, honey.
No, thank you at all.
That is like the type of person that's selling you a course to teach you how to sell a course.
Yeah. Yeah.
I talk about those people all the time. Watch out for the people who could tell you that you could make 20 grand a month because they just got 4 of you paying them 5 grand.
Correct.
All right. Okay.
Is that our next topic?
Maybe we should just change the rest of the topics, just rant the second half of the show.
People
all right.
want to hear about this.
Before we rant, we're going to do something super positive. If you've seen the show before, we started a new segment at halftime called High Five Friday, where you can give a high five or a shout out to anyone in your LinkedIn community doing something awesome. This was started by the amazing Michelle Craig, who was the first guest ever on the Friday Live with Lauren show. I'd like you all to know before it even had a name. So Michelle's been kind enough to come on and do this segment with us. Leslie, Nikki, and I are going to take a short break. We're going to take a sip of something, and we will be right back. And stay tuned to see Michelle.
It's Michelle back with High Five Friday. This is a special part of the show where we high five your LinkedIn friends, shout out your coworkers' accomplishments, and come together to celebrate the amazing things that you've accomplished over the week or month. Visit this link to submit your high fives for a chance to be featured live on the show.
What is up, everybody? Happy Friday. Love Fridays. I'm pumped. I'm over caffeinated today, so let's get into it. First of all, Lindsay Dowd would like to shout out Andrew Dugood. Molly from Earn Better has a shout out for Joy. Joy is so dedicated to her community and helping job seekers. I first met her in October 2023, and she's been a bright light since our first connection. I really appreciate her commitment to helping and connecting others. Keep up the good work, Joy. That's amazing. Francisco Aller Garcia would like to give a shout out to Chia at Planful. And then I've got a couple of shout outs today. So Tim Harris and David Pascal are two of my teammates that have been helping me with marketing, enablement, sales content, like rock stars on the Unifor team. So want to shout them out. And quick and dirty, happy Friday, y'all.
What's up? Okay, really quick, because I didn't get this up here while Michelle was talking. This was Lindsay for Andrew. I know they're both watching, so big high five. Sorry, I wasn't clicking fast enough. That's what happens when you produce your own show, people. But high five to everybody. And y'all, big high five to Michelle for coming on and doing this awesome segment of the show. It's not easy to come on here and do this every week. So I'm super excited that she tunes in and does this with me. We are going to bring back our special guest. There's also something we didn't talk about today that I want to bring up really quick. Comment below. Do you know what day it is? Do you know what day it is today? And if you know what day it is today, do you know the result of the thing that happened? Let me know in the comments.
Jazzy music.
Oh, you like my little.
I loved it. I don't know if you could see me when I was off camera, but I was over here awkwardly bopping my head.
Yeah, the accountability group actually just started yesterday. We have 20 members in the group for February who are going to actively try to post every day for 30 days in a row. And the last week, they post twice a day for the last 7 days, y'all. It is a really hard challenge. Not many people actually can complete it. A lot of people sign up and they're like, we got this. Y'all, posting 30 days in a row is really hard. So shout out to the January crew. I think there were like 5 people who made it through the entire challenge. Y'all are awesome. And yeah, y'all, that's free. So if you just want to start posting, if you don't know what to say, if you don't know who to talk to, I was you once. I had no idea what to say and who was going to care. Let me help you so that it doesn't have to feel so scary, because it felt kind of scary for me.
And I feel like 30 days are the hardest, which kind of sounds like a cliche, but genuinely, like once you start getting into the motion with a little bit of a support group, it gets a lot easier. So somebody that's at like day 13. So let Lauren help you.
Thank you. I would love to. Okay, really quick. Don't forget, we do have 2 awesome giveaways. So I'll tell you a little bit about the Sendoso giveaway. Sendoso is our official gifting partner. They're kind enough to give me a budget every month to gift you guys something. And typically it's a small gift every week. But this month I thought we'd do something really fun. And every week I'm going to pick 2 people to be entered into the grand prize drawing on February 23rd. And I'm going to gift you my entire budget for the month so that you can experience gifting to someone in your network. You can use half for you. You can use half for someone else. You can use it all for you. I won't judge. But tag Sendoso for that. And then Nikki was so kind to offer, I mean, if you want to offer it kind, she's going to tear down one of your emails. Or help you with some cold calling. You heard her at the beginning of the show give some awesome tips. If you're just now tuning in, go back. I promise that was like a take note section. But tag Nikki if you want to win a session with her. I promise you, I saw this live. I haven't ever had like a one-on-one, but oh my goodness, I can't imagine the value you would get from that. So please, please, please tag those 2, and we're going to keep going. And y'all, this is like, I think the 3 of us love this topic, but phone first sales. We're going to talk about why it works and how you can implement this. Who wants to take it away?
Is this where we all just stare directly into the camera and say, just pick up the phone, pick it up.
Just don't call me while I'm live. Whoever did that, I don't appreciate it. Anyway, go ahead.
I mean, I've made over 100,000 cold calls in my career. I've been saying that for years. I feel like I should recount. It's probably like, who knows how many it is. It's probably like 250,000 cold calls. And here's what I know for sure about cold calls. I still don't love them. Right? Like, I'm not like, yeah, cold calls. That's my favorite part of my job. But I'm really, really freaking good at them now. And there is a joy that comes from having put the time and effort into developing the skill set that allows me to now treat cold calls like a craft. So like, you're gonna be bad when you start, full stop. Like, nobody is just suddenly amazing at cold calls on day 1. I don't care if you've done public speaking. I don't care if you've done like speech and debate. I don't care. Acknowledge that you're going to have some like tough calls, that it is a skill set, that it is a craft. That means you need to invest in it and practice it and grow it. And that it may not ever be your favorite part of the sales process, but once you get really good at it, the results speak for themselves. And it is like something that you look forward to because you know it's something that's going to generate so many conversations and so much revenue for you.
Yeah. I'm just gonna really quick say I love cold calls. The second I find your number, especially if there's two, I'm like, oh, which one is it? And I'm calling and I'm just it's so exciting for me. I don't care where I am. I'll literally be like on my computer in the middle of a crowd. And if I find a hiring manager's phone number, I'm calling you right now. I get so like I know I'm the oddball out, but love it.
I don't think so.
Okay.
The calls themselves are fun.
The calls are fun.
It is the
like the before where you're like, oh, okay, I got to do a cold call block.
Yes. I spoke to a gentleman years ago, and he said it is conversation scarcity that makes cold calling a drag, and he's absolutely right. I think it was Chris Bale. I don't know if he's still with Connect and Sell or what, but anyway. That is what makes it painful, especially as salespeople. We're social. We just want to talk. And if we go our whole day without that, then yeah, that's going to be difficult. But I love what you said, Leslie. Treat cold calls like a craft. I think as we, the 2015-ish up until a couple years ago, like golden age of assembly line sales, made it easy to forget that cold calling is a craft, right? And we start to treat it like a means to an end, a touch in a sequence where we don't really expect anybody or want anybody to pick up sometimes, right? But, we've got to return to the art. We have to return to the art of sales. Real quick, the reason why I believe in phone first selling, the reason why this will probably be, the hill that I die on with respect to sales is because my very first SaaS sales job was a one-call close environment. Right? So I simply cannot be convinced that things cannot be sold over the phone. Not when I stood in that room on that sales floor with Rick Ross, every day I'm hustling, blasting through the speakers. We were all standing up and making them calls, right?
Mine was cream. So we were like living the same life apart from each other.
Energy. I mean, we were in there turning up. And the thing is, like, how many people on that sales floor just that day sold something, took someone from a stranger to someone who trusts me enough to pull out their credit card right here on this phone, fam? I don't know if they do that anymore, but they did it back then. And so if we know that that's the thing, that's the truth, right? It's a fact. Then I just don't understand leaving it behind. If we also know that one of the best indicators, right, of the success of a deal or the success of a seller down the line, right, is a number of conversations that they're having. The phone is the shortest distance between the seller and a conversation. Now, that it might not be that for an individual who was never going to answer the phone and they responded to you on email, fine. But if I'm sitting there and let's say I did the same research, right, to go want to personalize it. I've done the same exact research. Sure, I write this email using that piece to personalize around, and then I wait, and then maybe they respond, and then maybe we do book a meeting. But I don't get to meet them until they come to that meeting. And so there's this whole area, opportunity to build rapport and get them excited about the meeting that can be built on the phone call. So if we're doing it that way and pursuing the conversation and not just, the dial, right? Or the connect, or even, right, the check the box, right? I booked this meeting. If it is about the conversations, everybody wins, right? We all learn more. We all have more fun. And again, the phones is how we do that.
Facts. And, people are like, the phones don't work anymore. That's such bullshit. Like, even folks that don't have great phone connect rates are still at 2 out of 100 dials. How often do 100 emails result in 2 discovery meetings? Right? Like, if you look at the length of time between the activity and when the discovery meeting happens, and then you also look at the conversion, straight up phones work. But even if you set that aside, often when we say things like phone for sales, the response that I will get from people will be like, but I'm better at social selling, or like, but I don't want to only do phone calls. And it's like, dude, chill. Nobody said only phone. Nobody said that's the only channel we're using. Everybody here advocates for a multi-channel approach. And two, I don't know a gentle way to say this, but I care so much less about that you prefer social, and I care so much more about the fact that your prospect may not prefer social. So by centering only you and your preferences and the job that you're doing, which is connecting with your customer where they want to have a conversation with you, by refusing to use the phone, you're eliminating an entire channel that maybe you don't prefer, but other people do. And that's one of the reasons that multi-channel approaches, I do 3 channels or more, amplifies your results so significantly. So even if you don't love the phone, try to make it not about you. Try to make it about leading with that curiosity, showing up for that conversation, acknowledging that other people do want to be first reached on the phone. And then still, you're only making the phone one of the ways that you are trying to connect with your prospects.
100%. 100%. And the social part helps when you do the phone first sales because people are more likely to know who you are because you built that brand. Y'all, I see a lot of questions coming in. We're going to try to answer those at the end. Don't think I just ignored you. Y'all are right. It's Groundhog Day. Somebody said short winter. Somebody said 8 more weeks of winter. I saw that it was going to be a short winter, but everybody give this little cute guy a quick shout out. He's so cute. He's so
What is
cute.
his name? Punxsutawney Phil? I'm sure that I'm pronouncing it wrong. But yeah, the groundhog is a whole thing. It's a real thing, and he has a name.
You're braver than me. I didn't pronounce it because I knew I was going to butcher it.
I'm probably mispronouncing it. So shout out to
That sounds
Punxsutawney.
right.
From there.
I think
There
you
you
nailed it.
It sounds good. All right. We have one more topic and then we'll get into some questions if we have time. The last topic, and I think it's an important topic, so we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about culture in sales in 2024. We might go off on some rants. We're going to talk about Nikki's shirt. We're going to talk about culture in sales. What's really happening in the workplace? What's really happening? I know y'all saw that viral video where the CEO was like, y'all got to come back to work because you're sitting at home in your pants or in your underpants.
There's so many and they're all so tone deaf. Green screened. They're not even in the office.
That's so bad. Why don't you take us away, Leslie?
Okay, I do not work in an office, full disclosure, and I have not worked full time in an office for a long time. I've been doing this job for 2 years. Before that, I was with a UK company. I was fully remote. Before that, I was hybrid. Before that, though, for a full decade, I was Monday to Friday, 8 to 5, every single day in the office on an open floor, pounding the phones. So I very much have both perspectives. The data is really clear that being in the office does not make us more productive or more collaborative. I do think that for sellers, they need to be especially careful early in their career to join companies that are very, very strong on collaboration and fostering mentorships within the company and learning opportunities, because you are going to miss those chances to just hear all the things and learn on the sales floor. So I think there's an answer to it, but I do think that that is one negative of not being in person. But when we talk about broader culture, here's the biggest thing I would say between being in office and not being in office. I feel so much safer not being in an office. The amount of mental effort that I don't have to put in, even on basic things, just not having to get dressed up with a full face of makeup and full hair done and full outfit, which were expectations in my office. And I don't mean perceived societal expectations. I mean specific things said to me by the people in charge. Even more benign things like that, through to not having to deal with sexual harassment or sexual assault or being in situations where people were drinking. And I felt like I just feel so much safer not having to be in an office and getting to be extremely selective about when and where and whom I do in-person stuff with. So, I mean, that's kind of heavy and deep, but that's where I'm at.
These conversations have to be that because the situation is that, right? The problem is heavy and the problem is deep. By the way, the shirt says racism, homophobia. I don't like that. It's actually more of like a chant, right? Like a racism, homophobia. I don't like that. Well, I don't like that. But anyway, so we don't like that. But I do. What you're saying, it's true in the bigger picture as well. I mean, the studies that are coming out are telling us that women and people of color are leaving their corporate jobs to escape that sort of thing, and more specifically to escape a glass ceiling, right? To escape being locked out, to escape not being seen. All these things that you know, just not being in the office can't really save you from, right? So it has to be this, and which I know you weren't saying that that's the only problem, Leslie, but it does have to be this larger scale, brave, heavy, deep work that we do. Otherwise, right? I mean, look, I'm happy about women and people of color leaving and starting businesses and being entrepreneurs, right? Entrepreneurship, we all know, is the quickest way to wealth in America. It just is. So I'm for that, but it makes me angry that it has to be for those reasons. It makes me angry that it has to be because we couldn't figure out, particularly as a sales culture, we couldn't figure out how to run these workplaces and, you know, elevate this culture to a place where everybody felt, you know, not just seen and heard, but welcome. You know, it's a lot simpler than people make it out to be in our minds as far as what people are really asking for. But yeah, I think that that's one of the things that unfortunately is going to get worse before it gets better.
I think that's also why these conversations that are heavy are so important. And one of the things that at least I really take advantage of now that I don't work for a corporation is that I can say these things. I can say them openly. I don't have to worry about my boss firing me. And that's another reason why a lot of the time these things are swept under the rug. When people speak out, not just women, men too, when we speak out about the things that are wrong, it's typically in the past not been handled correctly. HR wasn't actually there to advocate for you, right? They're there for the company. People have to learn the hard way through their careers about what's going on. But the culture shift in general has to be, we are all willing to talk about it and have these discussions at the table. And that's really where I see it's lacking right now. And that's where people are going to have to really go back to the drawing board and say, how can we have these conversations productively where people aren't, quote unquote, getting punished for coming forward and saying, this is what's going on.
I think people are going to have to believe the business case in order for that to happen. The evidence has been around for at least a decade, right? As you know, how much more profitable, how much more productive companies are.
But they're going to have to believe that it's actually a problem.
Yes.
And they still don't believe us.
To invest in it. Exactly that. Because I sold this. What you're talking about exists. I worked at a company called Inclusive. That is what we do. We get people in a room, your employees, right? Whether it's your leaders or whomever, we get them in a room. Usually it's a Zoom room, sometimes in person. And we guide them through a structured conversation that helps people get beyond thinking about, you know, how to not get sued or shamed or fired, and more thinking about how their behavior impacts, right? The ability of people they like and care about as their colleagues, those folks' ability to feel a sense of belonging, to feel included. And we also help them understand how not having that can impact outcomes. And the impact on outcomes is especially important in sales culture because we'd like to believe that we're a merit-based culture, profession. So there's
I only see green.
I don't see gender. Oh, were you a black guy? I hadn't noticed. Weird stuff. But anyway, that really is right. It's not that, Lauren, that those things don't exist. and that folks like you and I and Leslie, right, and plenty of other folks don't understand it, that the bottleneck is how absolutely difficult it is to get people to invest in culture.
Yeah.
I'm honestly, I won't say that I'm stumped, right? Because I think for the time being, many of us are just gonna have to keep on beating the drum.
Yeah. I think we've like turned a bit of a corner where I don't see as much like malicious intent to keep people that don't look like you down. But now we've turned the corner where it's just like people simply are refusing to take, like, they prefer to live in ignorance. And they prefer to live so deeply rooted in their own experience that they are not taking the extra time and energy to understand what it might be to have the lived experience of a Black woman in sales.
We got to think about what would it matter? You know what I mean? Like, at a certain point, people just gonna have to start firing top performers when they are bad for culture,
instead of sending them to President's Club. I don't understand.
Oh, and then they go be bad at President's Club. I've heard some stories about that.
Everyone's surprised about what happened but you feel me? Like, that's the problem. That's part of a big part of the problem is like, because we live in this merit-based profession. Yeah. And we boil ourselves and each other often down to a number. If you're hitting that number, you can do no wrong. You can do no wrong. Very often, people are blind and deaf to the things that you are doing that are toxic.
You look like your boss, you can do no wrong. If you are a woman, even though women, if we're looking at the data, both as managers and individual contributors, outperform men by a few points.
That stat again, Leslie.
You can still very much do plenty of wrong.
Yeah. I was just making fun of all the hurt feelings in the comments whenever you or I or anyone says that stat. Triggered.
There's no hurt feelings in these comments. If y'all are hurt, get out of here. We don't want y'all here. All right, really quick, we got a couple questions. I want to take a few. Leslie, I'm curious, do you see audio events as potentially a replacement for webinars? I'm intrigued why more businesses aren't using it because it's not as cost or time consuming as events.
That's such an interesting question, Paul. Do you think that maybe people are like jaded from the failure of Clubhouse? Would be my response to that. Like, maybe we're too soon off the back of Clubhouse just crashing and burning that people are ready to reinvest in audio events. But I do see some, like Bilal does audio events that are really well attended. So I think that there is room for them, but it goes back to something we talked about earlier, that I think folks like are deeply craving human connection. And so much of what we emote is through our hands and through our faces and through the way we're leaning in and smiling. So some of that does get lost even through the intonation of an audio only event. So maybe.
Maybe. Okay, Nikki, why don't you take this one? And this is the last question, y'all, because we're pretty much out of time. So the influencer is not about content generation. It's about building ecosystems, right? And interesting topics, basic, throw in AI. How do you see B2B selling realm looking in 36 months? Whew.
Ooh, if we're throwing in AI, well, so you know how the AI, the robots know how to pretend like they're us, right? Like you can have a video and you can make these at scale, and it's so those are happening in prospecting. I'm interested to see if those start to happen in content at large, right? Amongst sellers, that is, right? I don't really see people doing that, but I just hope, that's all I can do, that we don't take it and do what we did with sales engagement, right? And turn these things into spam cannons and turn LinkedIn into, a place where people used to go to genuinely connect and learn things, into a place where there's just, videos of robots doing funny stuff. I don't know.
But circle back to where you started, and I know we're over time, but like, it is insanely difficult to be radically human if the question you're trying to answer is, how can I cut corners, or how can I find shortcuts with AI? It's very difficult to simultaneously answer that question and the question, how can I show up as a radically human seller?
You can't really do both together. It's one or the other. By the time you're counting in those shortcuts, the radically human part has left the building.
Yeah.
All right. It's time for my favorite part of the show. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? It's
Oh.
our Fun Friday fact. Okay, Nikki, I think you're going to go first. What is your fun Friday fact?
My fun Friday fact is that Groundhog Day is actually the anniversary of when my husband and I met. We met on the internet in a Yahoo chat room. Yeah, we're Gen Xers, so yeah, we're old. It doesn't exist anymore. But it was Groundhog Day 2005, and so we do a little mini celebration of the day that we met. 18 years married later, and a couple of whole entire humans have resulted from this chance encounter on Groundhog Day.
Oh, I love it.
And Russell, our love.
I will.
All right, Leslie.
Okay, my fun fact is that I sing songs to myself all day long about the things I'm doing. So I'll be like, getting on a live, dry shampoo and brushing my hair, getting on a live, all day long. Everything I'm doing, I sing a song to accompany the activity.
Oh my God. Okay. My fun Friday fact. I don't always drop one, but Leslie, you made me think of this. All the time in my head is the circus music, like do 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 all the time. It is literally a circus in here, y'all. All the time, it's the circus music playing, and if you ever hear me humming anything, it's a circus tune. Yeah, sorry in advance.
Yes.
So
Okay.
good.
We're going to do the giveaways one last time. Tag Sendoso. If you haven't entered yet, you have like 30 seconds. I'm about to draw. Tag Nikki if you want to win the email teardown or cold calling coaching session. We're going to do this right now. Are y'all ready? Yes. All right. This is the part where I always wish I had help. All right. We're going to do the Sendoso one first. Remember, I'm drawing 2 people for the grand prize giveaway. So you're just going to get entered into the grand prize on February 23rd. If you win today, we had 10 people enter. Somebody got in right at the last moment. Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? Liz. Liz is entered. Whoop, whoop. Go, Liz. All right, let's do one more because we're going to pick 2 today. So Liz is going to be entered into the grand prize giveaway. And we are also going to Arwen's going to be entered as well. Thank you so much, ladies, for entering. And then let's do the drawing for the teardown.
Nikki.
All right. Ready? That's my theme song. It's literally all the time. Can't stop it. All right. Who's going to win? Virginia!
Hey, oh my goodness! Yes.
Virginia. I love Virginia. I met Virginia in person at Sester last year.
Awesome.
So that was so awesome. Y'all, thank you for joining me today. This was so much fun. Literally, like.
It really was.
I don't know. Like,
the
people watching don't know, but I'm pretty sick. I don't feel sick anymore after talking to these 2 ladies for an hour. I feel great. Thank you, ladies. This was literally the highlight of my week. Also, maybe the first time I've been out of bed. But I appreciate you both more than you know.
Thanks, Lauren.
Thank
you. Any final words for the people?
Just thanks. Thanks for spending your time with us.
Appreciate y'all.
Pick up the phone. Love you. Bye.
Pick up the phone. All right. Y'all know what I always say. This was fun. If you didn't like it, don't come back. Bye.